All right, welcome to the second video over Unit 1 for Applied Math. Again, my name is Kara Kern, I'm your instructor, and I'm going to be putting some notes on here. So again, what you should do when you're watching these videos is write the notes down as I'm writing them down. If you need to pause the video, go ahead, pause the video, and write the notes down. All right, so we're looking at multiplying and dividing whole numbers. So I'm just going to walk through a quick example of multiplying and dividing. So let's say I wanted to multiply 75 times 8. Okay, and quite honestly, I would expect you to just use a calculator to do this, but I just want to refresh your memory on how to do multiplication by hand. So I would take 8 times 5, and that's 40. So I write the 0 here, the 4 up here. 8 times 7 is 56, and then you add that number to 56. So that would be 60, so that would be 600. All right, if I'm going to do some long division, basically if my problem looks like, if it looks like, let's say 200, no, let's pick a different one. 69,768 divided by 323. So 69,768 divided by 323. The way I set that up in long division is the first number goes under and that one goes on the outside. So I'm going to divide by 323 and I'm going to divide that into right here. So now I have 3 digits here, so they have to go into these first 3 digits. So I'm only looking at these first 3 digits to start. So 323 times what is something less than 697. Okay, and this is where a calculator can help you out. So you could just get a calculator out if you had to do the long division. And you could say, okay, 323 times 2. That's 646. Well, that's less than 697. And if I do that again, I'll be higher than that. So this is going to be 2. Okay, so then what I do, the process is think of a number. This times what is this, something less than this. Then I'm going to multiply. I take 2 times 323, and I write those digits right below here. Well, I already did that. That's 646. So 646 goes here. Then what I do with these two things is I subtract. So that gives me 51. Now I bring down the next digit. Then I start over. 323 times what is 516? Well, that's got to be only 1 because 2 times 323 is 646, which is already bigger than that. So that's 1. And that goes directly above the 6 that I just brought down. Now I just multiply the 1 times 323, and then I subtract. So I get 3, borrow 1 from the 5 to make it 4. That becomes 11. 11 minus 2 is 9. So now my remainder is 93, but I still have an 8 to bring down. So 323 times what is 938? Well, that's going to be, I'm guessing that might be 3. So 323 times 3 is 969. That's a little bit bigger. It's still only going to be 2. So then when I multiply 2 times 323, I know that's 646. And then I subtract again, so that's going to be 2. 3 minus 4 I can't do, so I have to borrow 1. So 13 minus 4 is 9. 8 minus 6 is 2. Now I don't have anything to bring down. Now at this point we could do one of two things. We could start getting decimals, which we're not going to do. So we're just going to write this is our remainder. Okay, this is our remainder. So this is going to be written as a fraction of the original denominator. So my answer to 69,768 divided by 323 is 212 and 292 323rds. All right, so that's just a quick review, multiply and divide. But again, we'll probably just use our calculator on the word problem. So we're just going to look at some word problems now. And the word problems are coming from the book. I may not do all of these. I might just pick a couple of these. So we're just going to take a look at number 2 first. So number 2 here, a chef estimates that an average of 150 pounds of ground beef are prepared daily. How many pounds of ground beef should be ordered for a 4-week supply? The restaurant is closed on Mondays. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of work through this right here in the margin of my book. So a chef estimates that an average of 150 pounds of ground beef are prepared daily. Okay, so 150 pounds per day. Okay, so how many pounds of ground beef should be ordered for a 4-week supply? So basically I just need to figure out how many days are in 4 weeks. But the thing that they tell me is that it's closed on Monday. So what I know is that it's only open 6 days per week, and then I want to do 4 weeks. So the first thing I need to figure out is how many days, okay? How many days? So what I would do to get how many days is I would have to take 6 times 4. 6 days per week times 4 weeks. So that's 24 days. And every one of those days, now I have to figure out how much hamburger. How much, is it beef? Okay. How much ground beef? Which is the question I was asked. How much ground beef? So I have 24 days times 150 pounds a day. So 24 times 150. And that is, just get my calculator out, is 3,600 pounds of ground beef in 4 weeks. All right. So another problem, let's take a look at number 13. No, I don't have 13 on there, but we'll do number 13. Okay. So we're going to move to the next page and just take a look at number 13. So we've got an ornamental iron fabricator finds the materials required for the railing shown in figure 1.9. How many vertical pieces of 1-inch square wrought iron are needed for this job? Okay. So vertical pieces, now they're pointing to these. So first of all, you have to decipher the picture. What does the picture mean? So these are the vertical 1-inch square wrought iron pieces that I'm going to be using. So these are all, we want to figure out how many we have, and we can't just count the ones in the picture because you notice the picture has a break. Okay, so what we're going to have to figure out is how many of these there are going to be if we look at the pattern that's going on. Okay, so the first thing is we realize that this entire thing is 432 inches. Okay, so we've got 432 inches. That's the entire thing. Okay, and they don't have the entire thing here because they've got this break in the middle. So then we notice that the first 1 inch is right here after 27 inches on this end, and also the first one here is after 27 inches on this end. So it would make sense to get rid of these two 27 inches. Well, 27 times 2 is 54 inches. So I need to get rid of those 54 inches because there aren't any wrought iron pieces outside of those. So the first wrought iron pieces start at 27 inches in. So I'm going to subtract 54 inches from this. So borrow 1 from the 3, that becomes 2. That becomes 12. 12 minus 4 is 8 inches. And then 42 minus 5, or well, borrow 1 from the 4, it becomes 3. 12 minus 5 is 7, and then 3 minus 0 is 3. So 378 inches now. And 378 inches is how much of this we're going to have the 1-inch wrought iron things on. And so we're going to start with the first one here. Okay, we have 1, and then we have another 1, 2, 3, 4, and we have to figure out how many there are. Now, there's a little note back in number 5 on this page. So on the previous page, number 5, there's a little note that I want you to read and circle. It says, whenever the holes are arranged or in a straight line, the number of spaces is 1 less than the number of holes. Now this actually applies, you might not think it applies to this problem. It does, okay, because there's a note on the problem 7 too. Problem 7 says the table shows the cross-section dimensions for each type of, oh no, that one isn't, never mind. So it's this other one. Whenever the holes are arranged in a straight line, the number of spaces is 1 less than the number of holes. Okay, well, the converse of that, the opposite of that, is there's 1 more hole than there are spaces. So that applies to this. So here, the spaces are what we're going to end up looking at because we want to know how far apart these are spaced. Okay, so the number of spaces is what we have to look at, but there's going to be 1 more wrought iron bar than there are spaces. So there will be 1 more bar than space. So what we're going to figure out right now is how many spaces there are, okay, in this 378 inches that are left. How many spaces there are. Each of these are spaced 18 inches apart. So all I'm going to do is take 378 and I'm going to divide it by 18. So 378 is divided by 18 is 21. So that means there are 21 plus 1 wrought iron bars. So there are 22 wrought iron bars that we need. Okay. So now we're going to move on to the order of operations, and you should probably pause this right here and copy down the order of operations. I'll run through them quickly. We did go through them in class on Monday or Wednesday last night. So first do all the operations within grouping symbols, and these are grouping symbols. And you work from the inside out. Then you do any powers or exponentials or roots. Then you do multiplication and division in the same step from left to right, and last addition and subtraction in the same step from left to right. So we'll just walk through a couple of these examples on this page here, and then go look at some word problems. So find the value of 15 plus 6 in parentheses times 3 minus 28 divided by 7. So the first thing you're going to do is the work in parentheses. So this is really nice because it's modeling how to show your work. So if I do what's in parentheses, this is the original problem. If I do what's in parentheses, I get a 21 below here. So 15 plus 6 is 21. And then I multiply by 3. Okay, well, then the problem I have is 21 times 3 minus 28 divided by 7. So now 21 times 3 is the next thing I do. I do multiply and divide, and at the same time I'm going to do 28 divided by 7. So 21 times 3 is 63, and then 28 divided by 7 is 4. And then when I subtract, and then I get 63 minus 4, and then I just subtract those to get the answer. So in this one I walk through the same process. I do what's in parentheses first. So 27 plus 9 is 36. Then in the next step I do 12 minus 7, which is 5, and then I just multiply. Number 3 actually has lots of grouping symbols, so I find the one that's on the inside, which is 8 plus 16. So 8 plus 16 is 24. And then the next thing I'll do, if you notice this step, 24 or 42 minus 24, now I'd have 42 minus 24, that is 18, so the answer to that is right there. And then 29 minus 18, the answer to that is 11. Then 36 minus 11, the final answer is 25. Okay, finally number 4, when you have fractions, there's actually grouping symbols around the top and around the bottom. Okay, the fraction bar is the grouping symbol, so you do everything on the top and everything on the bottom. So as they work through the stuff on the top here, the first thing you do is the multiplication. So 25 times 3 is 75, and then 120, and then on the bottom at the same time they do the division first. 24 divided by 8 is 3. Then on the top you have to do the subtraction, which is 45. On the bottom you do the addition, which is 15. You finally divide. After you get all the top and all the bottom worked out, then you divide. So you get 3 plus 10 is 13. All right, so the last thing we're going to do is just look at a word problem here. Let's just say we're going to take a look at number 2. And a retailer borrows $4,700 from a bank for 30 months. Using an installment loan table, the monthly payment on $4,000 is $158. The monthly payment on $700 is $27.65. How much total interest must the retailer pay the bank? All right. So now this is asking us, tells us that we're going to borrow $4,700 and we're going to pay it over 30 months. And then they tell us what our monthly payments are. So basically, first thing I'm going to figure out is the monthly payment. They actually just give us a formula here. But we can probably figure it out without the formula. So if we're using the formula, this becomes really easy. So all I'm going to do is take 158 and I'm going to add 2765. So 158 plus 2765 is $185.65. That's how much I'm going to pay. Times 30, I need to take that times 30 for 30 months. And that's going to be $5,569.50. That's how much I pay. Okay, finally I'm going to subtract from it the amount that I borrowed, $4,700, and what I have left is the amount of interest. So the amount of interest is $869.50. All All right, that's the end of the second video. See you next week. Thanks.